In October of 2015, Spook and Sinister trees were first added to Lumber Tycoon 2. Since then, these elusive trees have become a staple of the game, drawing in both new and old players. In this video, I'll go over everything that you need to know about Spookwood, including all of the changes from last year. So whether you're a noob or an avid hunter, let's get into 2024's complete spook hunting guide. To explain how spook spawning works, let's imagine it from the perspective of a private server. In the private server's code lies an internal clock which keeps track of what date and time it is in the real world. Once the server's clock strikes 6 AM EST on October 1st, it will begin the process of spook spawning. I like to visualize the spawning process as a list of objectives, the first of which being to start a timer known as the stagger. The stagger's duration is randomly chosen between what we have estimated to be 0 and 3 hours. Once the stagger counts down to 0, the server will spawn a spook tree, with a 1% chance to be replaced by a sinister tree with granite bark. However, in order for the server to actually spawn the tree, certain criteria must be met. Firstly, the server will select a random location on the map to place the tree. This location must be on a part named Slate, Sand, Road, or Ground, as the server will select another location otherwise. Finally, the server will check if the given location has access to the sky, which is done by sending a raycast down from 100 studs above the volcano. If this raycast is uninterrupted, the server will place the tree in that location. If it is interrupted, the server will select another location instead. It is worth noting that the raycast ignores can collide false parts, which allows for spawning in some very odd places, such as underneath the volcano's lava. Once planted, the tree will experience a bout of growth every 150 to 200 seconds, with 60 to 75 growths in total. This means that the trees take around 3 hours to fully grow from a sapling, and they can survive for around 9 hours in total. Anyways, now that the first tree is growing, the server will start a second timer, which is known as the interval. When this timer runs out, the server will spawn another spook tree and reset the interval back to full, planting another tree upon each completion. Last year, the interval's duration was measured to be around 6 hours, although this year it is subject to change. However, because last year trees took longer to die out than they did to respawn, it was likely to find 2 trees growing at the same time in one server. For this year, if the interval is increased, it may not be as likely, or even possible, to spot these double trees. I will update the pinned comment if the interval, or any other information in this video, changes by then. Now, back to the server's internal clock. Once it strikes 6 AM EST on October 31st, which is Halloween, the server will trigger the End Times event. During this event, the map will become desaturated and the spook spawning interval will decrease substantially. Up to 3 trees can be growing at once during this event, with the server preventing more than 3 from growing at once. The event ends on November 1st at 6 AM EST, subsequently stopping any future spook trees from spawning. It is still possible to find some spook trees after the event ends, as the trees that spawn late during the event can remain alive for many hours. Now that you know how spook spawning works, let's get into some ways to classify your finds. The first thing to note when it comes to a tree's classification is how many segments and branches the tree has. Spook trees are able to have from 1 to 5 segments, with 5 being the rarest at only 1.2% of trees. 2 and 3 segments are the most common, with 1 and 4 being a little rarer. Spook trees can have either 2 or 3 branches, and both outcomes are pretty much equally common. Aside from the segment and branch classification, there are also several words used in the spook hunting community to describe a tree, the most known of which is called a monster. For a tree to be called a monster, it needs to be massive, featuring a thick base and lots of sprawled out branches. Next up is a stump, and these occur when a tree accidentally grows towards a part, which thus stuns a tree's growth before it is able to branch off. Super stumps occur when a tree is stumped with only 2 segments. Next up we have obstructions, where the tree, or part of it, passes through a can collide true part. Obstructions can happen through many different means, with a common method being when the tree stump thickens itself into a can collide true part. Along with growth classifications, the location of a tree also comes into play when describing your find. Some locations on the map are considered rare, such as the Tega Peak, Volcano, Tropics Beach, and the Sand Island. There are also a handful of very rare locations, such as the River Tunnel Sandbar, Maze Entrance Sand, Maze Ledge, Mainland plus Safari Coastline, and the Tega Footbridge. The rarity of a location comes down to how big of an area it is, as there is an equal chance for your tree to spawn on any location in the map. Anyways, now you know how to classify your spook tree, it's time to actually go out and find some. Hunting for spook trees is actually a lot easier than you may think, as all you really need is a tall ladder. However, if you have an extra slot, I highly recommend that you build a spook hunting base, and I will go over how to make one now. Start by getting yourself 1 plot of land and 80 to 100 smooth walls. From there, reset your character to find the center of your base, as that exact location is where you need to stack all of your smooth walls. Now, I recommend placing 2 walls and then resetting your character in order to test if you place the walls in the right place. If you spawn on top of the smooth walls, like so, place all of the walls down. Otherwise, move the walls over and try again. Once all of the walls are placed down, you should spawn at the very top of the ladder whenever you reset or reload your slot. If you do not have a free slot to dedicate to spook hunting, simply find your slot with the lowest data size and copy the wall placing strategy in the center. Make sure you also have a vehicle on your spook hunting slot along with an axe. Now that your base is done, let's go over how to use it efficiently. To start hunting, simply press the play button on LT2's page. While using the server list is more effective, the play button provides an easy way to quickly join a random server. Anyways, once you have joined a server, simply load up your spook hunting slot and try to place it on one of these plots for maximum viewing distance. Once you are teleported to the top of your smooth wall stack, I recommend panning your camera over to the safari biome to begin your search. From here, slowly turn your camera around, making sure to focus only on the corner of your screen. Remember, you are looking for spook trees that could potentially be only a few minutes old, and thus it is important to look very thoroughly. On screen now is my typical pace for searching a server, but your pace will be different depending on your experience and screen resolution. Once you have finished searching the server, simply leave the game, rejoin another server, and repeat the process. During the end times event, your tower will become quite useless, so I recommend just driving around the map. Now, let's say that while searching the map, you did happen to find a spook tree. Here's how you can get to it. Assuming the tree is in a spot that can be reached by car, simply hop in and get driving. However, if the tree is on a rock that you cannot scale, you will need to use a long plank or a glitch in order to get to it. Long planking is very intuitive, as all you need to do is sawmill a tree at a thin setting and place the outputted plank against the rock that you want to scale. If you despise long planking, then the axe climbing or toboggan glitch is right for you. For axe climbing, simply place your axe against the rock you want to scale, turn on shift lock, and grab the corner of the axe right as you walk into it. If you do it right, you should start to scale the rock by climbing on your axe. Note that this glitch is quite tricky to pull off and requires a lot of practice to use it confidently. For the toboggan fly glitch, place a land sign on your toboggan, sit down on the sign, then reload your base. Now all you have to do is hold the sign while sitting down in order to start flying with the toboggan. No matter how you got to your tree, once you do reach it, be sure to cut into it with an axe to claim it as yours, and take a screenshot to prove that you found it. If you wish to sawmill the tree, simply cut it down and haul it back to the mainland, then switch to a slot with a sawmill system and process the tree from there. Congrats! You now know how to hunt for spookwood. And that's going to be the end of this year's guide. Remember to check the pinned comment to see if any information from this guide has changed. Anyways, that's going to be it for me. Goodbye!